I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. Whatever. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you had a good week. Welcome back to another live stream, office hours. My voice is still not 100%, so we will see how well things go here. It's been weird. Last night, Alyssa, my daughter, and I both started running fevers again. And we've been off of this thing for we've been like a week out from, the fever running and all of that, just still dealing with the cough. And, of course, it's always possible to catch another strain of the flu, but I really don't think that's what it was. And I looked it up, and apparently a lot of people say you can have sort of a little relapse of the flu. All the big scientists come in, that's not really a thing. But, hey, screw you. It happens to a lot of people. I feel like that's maybe what it was. I don't know. But better now, fine now, but throat's still weird. Soundograver's got a little issues with that as well. She's still not 100% sure if she'll be able to stream tomorrow, depending on her throat. So, this thing, man, it just came along and kicked us in the butt hard. We're at Mass tonight. Apparently our poor priest is got some throat issues too. I think he's probably got a touch of it, whatever it is. But I'm here tonight, and I'm talking right now, so we'll see how long the voice holds up. Welcome to everyone. Ghost Planet Max Inc. was here first. Good to see you there. Darth Enigma, welcome, welcome. Let's see. Eldritch Fan, good to see you there. Ghost Planet Max Inc. talking about a lot of stuff. You mentioned 89 Batman Ghost Planet Max Inc. That reminds me, this Tuesday, the John Jackson Miller's Batman Resurrection drops. The novel is supposed to be a sequel to Batman 89. I'm really excited about it. Who knows? It's John Jackson Miller, and he's my favorite Star Wars EU writer. I think I could probably say that, if not right up there with somebody else. But he's just awesome, and so I'm looking forward to what I hope is an amazing story. Of course, it's a novel being written and published today. So, and I don't know John Jackson Miller. I don't follow him, personally on social media. So I don't know what his politics are or whatever. So who knows? But I'm just hoping for a really good installment in the Batman 89 universe that's nothing like the garbage that Sam Hamm is doing in his crap Batman 89 comics right now. And this one's supposed to be that. This one's really supposed to take place pretty much just after the first movie. There's a question of, did the Joker even really die or not? I don't know where they're going to go with that, but just from the synopsis of it. So I am super excited for that. Definitely. I'll let you guys know how it is. On the one hand, I want to read it somewhat quickly so I can review it for you, but on the other hand, I want to savor it too. So I'll let you know how it's going. Eldritch Fan, welcome to see you there. Said, you haven't seen the Joker movie, but you have either Joker movies, but you have a fascination with the analysis coming out about it and what it says about our culture and society. I agree with you. I really agree with you. it was all I did was like a 1 minute video, which was a cutout of last week's stream, and it's so funny seeing people's response. One of the things I've noticed about the the people who try to monetize anti-woke on YouTube, and hey, like I said before, I hate woke. I hate everything to do with woke. It's garbage, and I hate woke in our entertainment industry. But there's a 100% grifting element on YouTube that is trying to monetize the anti-wokeness, and they're fighting as much as they can to keep the wokeness around, because if it goes away, then they won't have anything to gripe about. So they're going to watch everything and review every minute detail of everything. And people get so mad when I point that out. It's like, no, the normies need to hear it from us, and we got to fight this fight, and we got to okay, because normies are sitting around every day wondering, I wonder what a nerd thinks about this movie. If a geek likes it, then maybe I'll like it. It's absurd. The psychological gymnastics that people do to try to make it okay for them to still watch all these channels and be a part of this and perpetrate it. And I liken it kind of to this, because I don't know if you've seen videos about news stories when they come out in the media on like the Associated Press or something like that. People have done compilations of these stories. They'll hit the Associated Press, and then they show up on different local news channels, and then local news pundits will deliver the story word for word. I mean, there's even like instructions in the story, apparently, where to dramatically pause, where to emphasize this with your hand or whatever. And they'll do videos compiling this, because your local news station is supposed to be a little bit more tailored to your community, but it's all come down from the higher ups. These are the stories, these are the opinions that you're supposed to deliver, these are the lines, and so forth. And that's what it feels like when you watch a lot of these channels, the anti-woke channels reviewing the Joker. They all start out with, no one asked for the Joker movie, but it somehow worked, like 4 or 5 of them say the same thing. They start out by trying to defend the fact that they just were creaming their jeans all over that first movie. And then they talk about how, oh, but this one's is blah, 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 blah. And here's their story. Here's their narrative that they've decided to push about the Joker 2, so that it saves their face for trying to pretend that the first one was any good. Todd Phillips, he did this on purpose. Yeah, see, he knew what people wanted, and he was just trying to get and stick it to the man, with that first movie and blah, blah, blah. And he's our guy, as everybody just sort of indelibly, linked their reputations to that film. And now that he does this one, this crap, he did it on purpose, because he didn't want to make a sequel. So he made this one bad on purpose so that it would, stick it to Hollywood and see that. Isn't that interesting? No, come on. That's ridiculous. That is absurd. Yes, directors go into movies with their hearts not in it. But anytime you hear a story about a director trying to sabotage their own film, that's BS. That is BS. Sure, they might phone it in at times or whatever, but no, they're, what they do is link. If a director really did that, then that would be a pretty trashy move on that director's part, because that's like tanking the jobs and incomes of all the people working on the film. So that's ridiculous, but I see this over and over again, and I get so many responses to my one little 1 minute video about the Joker were, well, the first one was good, but this second one, you're like, no, the first one was a horrible take on a character and a villainous archetype that should never have been lauded like people did, just so blindly, and just zombies. And I see this with people, obviously not everybody, okay? You can have an opinion. Maybe you like the Joker movie, or maybe you do this. Obviously, statistically, theoretically, you could have an opinion like this that truly does come from your core. But I see these opinions, whether it's about the Joker or about anything else, when it comes to the anti-woke, money-making YouTube scam channels, they either, whether people know it or not, they get conditioned by these channels. Like every time I talk about Henry Cavill and what a douchebag he is, here comes 3 or 4 people in the chat or in the comments. I actually feel sorry for Henry Cavill because he didn't really get a chance and blah, 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 blah. And this is my original thinking. You know, and I mean, it's like verbatim, word for word. People are just programmed to spit out this nonsense. So, yeah. Got me on a rant. Wow, Eldritch fan. Crazy big rant. I'll finish welcoming people, but I do see you put a super chat right there, which I'm guessing has to do with it. That if you ever feel worthless, remember studios will spend billions just to tick you off. Also, most reviews are grift, but some are insightful. I'm sure. I mean, there are channels out there. There are channels out there that just do movie reviews, right? They're not about let's fight the good fight, guys. This and that. They're actually just movie review channels. So they're going to review anything that comes out. I don't find that interesting myself because I don't like to just watch movie reviews just out there. But at least those channels have the integrity that hey, we just review movies, guys. We're not part of any ideology. This is just what we do. And so if you were looking for like a really good review of the Joker 2 movie for whatever reason, I don't know, then, you might hit up a channel like that. But when you claim to want to kill woke Hollywood, or I guess the woke Hollywood wouldn't really apply in the Joker's case because I don't think anybody is accusing it of being woke. You claim you want to raise the quality of films in Hollywood. Stop giving them so much freaking attention. But we talked about that before. Where was I in the welcoming people? Not even halfway down. Private Eye in Retrospectiva. Good to see you there. So you just wanted to come in before to say that you did receive Dracula the novel for your birthday. Awesome. It was Thursday. Well, happy belated birthday to you. And started reading it. Reads incredibly easy for a century-old book. You're right. I mean, there's a reason it's one of my top 5 favorite novels of all time. It's just amazing. It's right up there with Something Wicked This Way Comes and A Christmas Carol. That was the other one I was trying to remember the other day when I was listing them out there. Andre Hernandez, welcome. Sad that you missed the last stream since there was talk about the Hulk. Yeah, we talked about the Hulk a little bit in terms of its relation to the werewolf Jekyll and Hyde archetype. Definitely. It was a good stream. Electric Barbarella, welcome. Ghost Planet Max Inc., Samuel Proctor, Crystal Ashes. Big Al Presents popping in. Of course, my dear sweet sound engraver. Imaginative Hobbyist, and many, many more. Fruit. Ugh. I made it through. I was reading because I'm a lector at in my parish, so I made it through tonight quite well. I think the Dayquil and ibuprofen and all that stuff's kind of starting to get out of my system, so that's why I might be a little scratchy here. But it was just so weird last night. I started to feel like I was a little feverish. I'm like, well, that can't be. I'm like a week out of that nonsense. But then my poor daughter, she woke up and she just gutted Sound Engraver and I's heart. So she was just shivering and everything. Poor little girl. Got her meds and everything, and she got a good night's sleep though. And then she was better this morning too. It's so weird. Imagine if Hobby is talking about the wild robot. I did see the previews for that when I saw Beetlejuice. It didn't look like a bad film. It didn't really look like my thing. Just like taste-wise, But I'm glad you think it's a good movie. You said a great title film about the importance of guardianship, motherhood, and tolerance. That's cool. That's good. Let's see what else is going on here. All right. So tonight, I was kind of pacing myself out between now and Halloween. I've got tonight's stream and then one more stream before Halloween proper. And of course, we'll do some more monster content on Halloween proper. But this week was a crazy week, trying to catch up with all of my class stuff because when I had the flu, I got really behind on grading papers and whatnot. So I caught up with all of that, and it was a good week, but it was a busy week. So I thought, the plan had been, before my voice got shot to all heck, was to record, a couple episodes of Iconicast podcast And in every episode of Iconicast podcast, I do a physical media review. I talk about a book or a CD or a movie or whatever. But because of this, flu just knocked that plans, all to snot. I decided to take tonight and talk about some of these good stories, or some of these, Halloween related media. So I think that's what I'll kind of talk about a little bit tonight. And then we'll do some more Q&A if you want, or whatever, as long as we have time and my voice holds out. First thing I have up. This is something that I showed you when it came in the mail to me some weeks ago, and then I took my time reading it, but it's really quite good. And let me show you on the screen there. Dracula, Book 1, The Impaler, by Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones. You think about these two working on a book together. First of all, that's an incredible idea already. Matt Wagner's done some of my favorite Batman stuff. Kelly Jones, amazing artist, really great stuff. So, working on a Dracula book, I was sold. As soon as you told me that these two authors were working on a Dracula book, man, I'm in. Because, like I said, they've done so many great Batman things together. And they've done more than Batman, but that's just where I really love their work. I thought it shined a lot. And one of the things I liked about their work with Batman was they really have a good touch for the Gothic. So I thought this was great. Them working on Dracula, wonderful. Now, I'll start by telling you what my criticism of the work is, which isn't really a criticism of the work. It's just my, I guess, misunderstanding going into it. But because I knew that they were so good at Gothic fiction and Gothic, world building and all of that, I was really looking for a good Gothic Dracula story. And this Book 1 really isn't that. Book 1, they talk in the intro, and I'm sure they said it on the campaign. I just probably wasn't reading carefully enough. But they wanted to do something that no one had ever done with Dracula. And Dracula is, an epistolary novel. It's a novel written in different people's letters to each other, diary entries, news clippings, and so forth. So but the interesting thing about Dracula, the novel, is that you never get Dracula's own narrative voice. You hear things he says, in the perspective of other people writing it down, but you never get Dracula writing anything down. So they wanted to try that with this book, which is a really great idea. And it's the origin of Dracula. It's their version of the origin of Dracula. So cool idea too. But the story, and this isn't a bad thing, it's a great story. They do a great job with this. Again, it's just my difference of my expectation when I first opened it, is that it really goes into, should probably be careful about what page it just randomly opened to, because there is some nudity here and there. but this reads way more like a Neil Gaiman Sandman style universe, or even a Witcher style universe, in terms of the feel of the genre. It's not like a Gothic Victorian or whatever. This is Vlad the Impaler back in the day, and this is him, trying to make a deal with the devil, and it's just how he gets these powers, how he becomes the vampire. How a vampire even, comes about. What's the idea behind it and everything. So it's that's the story behind it. So you're not going to get a good Gothic, story that you think you might get from Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones, but it's a solid story. It really is a great story. Now, they're doing campaigns for these books, and they do have the campaign that just opened a little while ago. I'll put the link when I cut this out as a video. I'll put the link in the description, but you can look it up. It's Orlock Press, I think, is the one here. Yeah, Orlock Press. Like Count Orlock, from Nosferatu. And they've got Book 2, which is a continuation. It goes on to this one. Book 2 is The Brides, Dracula's Brides. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm thinking that might be a little bit more Gothic. I don't know. But obviously they're going to work up to the point of the Dracula that we know from the novel. I don't know if they'll go into his perspective through that story. That'd be pretty cool. So I don't know how many books they've got planned for this, but this is Book 1, The Impaler, and it's really good. It's good. Like I said, not the Gothic novel I was kind of hoping for, but for surprising me for being something different, it was still really good. It's great for what it is. I don't mean that as a qualifier. Well, it's good for what it is. That's not what I mean at all. It was something different than I expected, but it was still really, really good. That's what I mean to say. And you can still pick this up on the campaign for book 2, the Impaler. I mean, book 2, the Brides. You can still pick up this copy and that one. So really good stuff. If you're a Dracula fan, definitely recommend it. Something like Dracula or the Wolfman or even Frankenstein. There's countless iterations out there. Like I like to try to watch as many film versions of them as I can, but some of them are just so cheesy or so sort of B-level or whatever that you just I'm not gonna skip that one. So you think somebody did a Dracula book, do I really need to watch it? Or if you're a Dracula fan, you really need to check this one out. Dracula the Impaler. So it was really good. Eldridge fan for another super chat there said 199. Any thoughts on Dracula's depiction in Castlevania? Do you mean the Netflix series or the games or what? And unfortunately, in either case, you said the games, not the anime. Okay. I'm not that familiar with the games. I know the games exist. I've tried playing them a little bit here and there. I was never a big Nintendo fiend back in the day. I like playing some games, when Nintendo came out. It's weird. For me, I was always like Sound Engraver's the opposite of this. Sound Engraver, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, she was in her element as a child. I mean, she loves playing these retro games, and that was just her thing. For me, I was desperately wanting the escapism. Even as a child, I remember this. I wanted the escapism of these video games, and the box art would look amazing. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then you put the game in, and it's these little pixelated blocks, just trying to jump over the barrel or whatever, or whip the bat, or whatever. And that disappointed me as a kid because I wanted more. I wanted a fuller immersion. Now, that's not a critique of retro games at all. That's just pointing out, again, my expectations differed. I was wanting a fuller immersion. The games that they have now, man, if they'd had this kind of stuff when I was a kid, I probably never would have done any schoolwork or gone anywhere. It's probably a good thing they didn't have these kind of games when I was a kid, because that's what I'm looking for. Like, Witcher 3 level, like that's it for me. And it can stop there. I don't need it to go into like VR. I don't need it to like, go any farther than that. I'm just like, that's really good stuff that I'm there for. So the idea of Castlevania, I love the idea of it. A family line trying to, fight fight Dracula and whatnot. But I couldn't, the gameplay just wasn't engaging enough for me to stick with it to get any story. And the thing about a lot of classic games too is the story wasn't really paramount. They're about the games. They're about the fun of overcoming the challenges and stuff, which is totally legitimate. That's fine. But I'm such a story person. So I've even looked up videos online trying to like, just tell me the story of Castlevania, because I love the idea of it, Dracula and the Belmonts and so forth. And the story gets so convoluted. I think it's a really cool story to be told there. I haven't seen the Netflix drama because I've heard so much about what kind of crap it pulls. But I think there's a really great Castlevania story to be told with the content that they did in the films or the games. But I don't know if anybody's really told it yet. It'd be great if somebody licensed it to like write the novel, write a Castlevania novel of the original story. That'd be wonderful. Oh, that'd be sweet. I would do that if they paid me. I'd research it and do that. That'd be sweet. Yeah. I did like the Sega Genesis was my console. I had Nintendo. We had, Mario and all that kind of stuff. But Sega Genesis, that was my jam back in the day. And Michael Jackson's Moonwalker was awesome. Of course, Altered Beast, Sonic, those are great. The Ghostbusters game was really cool. Eldridge Fan, thank you again for the super chat. So the best Castlevania anime is Vampire Hunter D. See, that's how much little I know about it. I didn't even know Vampire Hunter D was a Castlevania thing. And that's not a Netflix thing. Okay, so that's cool. I didn't even know that there were other animated iterations of the Castlevania universe. I'll have to check that out. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Sonic Graver, you'd enjoy. I remember I tried playing Castlevania once on a live stream, and I just sucked at it. It was so horrible. Like, who hides chicken in a wall? I need some wall chicken. And the chat was laughing at me for that. Come on, there, chat. see if I missed anything before I move on to my next review of sorts. You guys are really talking about the Penguin Show over and over again. I just don't give a crap about the Penguin Show. I haven't watched it, so I can't tell you that it sucks. I just know that I don't care about anything that happens in Matt Reeves' Batman universe. I don't think he's got the right takes on any of those characters. So even if it's a really quality show, pass. Hard pass. Don't care. That's just me. So, yeah. Oh, they were. Oh, Sound Engraver came to clarify that Vampire Hunter D is not a Castlevania. Oh, yeah. Okay. I see it now in the chat. Eldritch fan. I'm joking. Thank you, love. Appreciate that. Well, see, that's the problem with the chat when it goes so crazy like this. Of course, you always read a super chat because that's somebody took the time to tip you, and you're going to give them that space. And I love to try and go into the chat and read as many just comments as I can, but you got a limited time. We got, a lot of people active and stuff like that. So yeah, it's easy to not get a joke, especially if I don't know anything about the material. I don't. Yeah, so I didn't think Vampire Hunter D was Castlevania. This was the news to me. But hey, I'd believe it because I'm not an expert on that stuff. Yeah, yes, AL. There you go. That's me too. The only thing I know about Castlevania and Simon Belmont is from the 80s cartoon Captain N, the Game Master. I love that cartoon. And apparently, like, if you're a real Castlevania fan, that's not Simon Belmont. You're not supposed to. Whatever. I like that Simon Belmont. That was fun for me. Yeah, that was a great cartoon. I really like that. I have to go back and find some reruns of that. Who asked it here? Darth Enigma. There's a Penguin Show? No, there really isn't. There's not a Penguin Show. There's a show about a sympathetic mob boss that they're calling the Penguin, but it's like the Joker. It's the same deal with the Joker. Let's get his backstory and let's like delve into the character and see their layers and like really try to relate to them. I don't know what people's fascination with this is. But really, that's the only place you can go in the Matt Reeves Batman universe at this point. Because the reason everyone loved the first Batman movie was it was all about his darkness, Batman's darkness and his rage. But no, prof, at the end, he realizes that he has to be a symbol. Yeah, but nobody's going to be there for that. Nobody wants to come watch be an aspirational symbol because that's just not cool. That's not hip. So he just kind of slapped that little sticker on the end of the movie to try to have something to say against people like me who would criticize it. And it'll be interesting when the second one comes out, what reasons he gives Batman for relapsing, what reasons he gives Batman for being able to delve into his inner darkness again, because that's all people want, and that's all he's interested in doing. So. Yeah, I thought Vampire D was a manga. An 80s thing. Michael Scimbati, good to see you there. So, do you prefer Laughing Fish or Killing Joke? Which story do you think is better? Joker story. I prefer Laughing Fish. Probably Laughing Fish too, but it's been so long since I read it. I'd have to go back and reread it. Killing Joke is a controversial tale to say anything good about these days. I think if I was really following, I was a child when it came out. I think if I was really following DC Comics and continuity as it was released, I would have probably been pretty teed off about it too. And it probably would have been, really had a foul, taste in my mouth over it. But coming back to it now, whatever you think about it treating Barbara Gordon that way, it gave us the wonderful Oracle character. And even now when I return or go back to the Killing Joke, I just don't see it. I know that it did happen in canon, but the treatment, Alan Moore's treatment of those characters was so dark and so experimental that I can't help reading it as sort of an Elseworlds tale. I know it's not, but I just can't. I think it was supposed to be a sort of Elseworlds tale, or I don't know if he really meant to write it. I don't know all the history of it, but like he has Batman act in some ways that Batman wouldn't really act, but at the same time, I can see what he's doing. He's doing sort of a meta approach to this universe and this relationship between the two, and it's a cool idea if you're going to explore a an origin of the Joker, do it that's a false origin, admit that every day is going to be a new origin in his mind and so forth. So I mean, as a work of literature, I got to say I like it. But it's not, I would not hold it up or put it in my list of must-read Batman stories in any way. Kind of like Watchmen, It's like, oh, that's interesting that exists and it's cool to study, but it's not what I go to when I want to have fun in my comic universe, Laughing Fish, it's been too long since I read that, so I need to go back and read it again to give you any good thoughts on that. Yeah, I heard that too, Electric Barbarella. Alan Moore does regret the tone. I can't remember if it was Killing Joke or if it was Watchmen in general that sent him, or maybe both, that sent him to go do Supreme. Which, I mean, hey, if anybody could ever redeem themselves from the darkness, Supreme is it. Supreme is excellent. He did it for Wildstorm, the Youngbloods and all that kind of nonsense. The really super dark comic line. And he took that character Supreme, who'd been a super dark character, and he said, the only way I'll write this character is if you let me totally remake him from the ground up. And he made him into a Silver Age Superman. Glorious character, which is so fun to read. There are 2 collected graphic novels out, which are hard to find. I don't know why they won't re-release them, but you can find used copies. You just might have to pay a little something. I've got both paperback copies, and they were a little pricey, but they're worth it, definitely. Andre Hernandez says, do you think The Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns are the most overrated comics? If not Watchmen, what do you think is the best superhero comic? They're definitely overrated. They're very overrated. I do think there's value to them both. I think they're interesting comics because they're supposed to be Elseworld comics. Dark Knight Returns was supposed to be an Elseworld. The tragedy of Dark Knight Returns is that the whole comic industry, or at least DC Comics, was like, we've got to remake our whole line into this tone, and that's absurd. So, plus Frank Miller's art is just garbage. I mean, it works some places like in Daredevil and whatnot, but I've never been a fan of his art. But no, I wouldn't hold them up as the greatest comics of all time. That's a hard question. What do you think is the best superhero comic? My goodness. Can't just answer that. All right. Let me move on to my next little review here, and then I'll jump into chat and see if anybody else has got some comments or questions or whatever. This one is one of those sort of things I'm just going to talk about because I want to, darn it. My channel, I love talking about music. I love music. I love rock music, and I just never get a chance to talk about it. And it's, makes sense because I didn't build this channel up around music. And every now and then I'm just like, well, I don't care. I'm going to talk about some music because I love music. I love, good hard rock. And for Halloween, every Halloween, I have a Halloween playlist. And I put things on. I'll put some Alice Cooper on the Halloween playlist, of course, and you got your staples, your Michael Jackson's Thriller, Rockwell's Somebody's Watching Me, stuff like that. The other thing I really like to fill my Halloween playlist with, though, is I love the old, like Monster Mash style of rock from the 60s. And they even went into the 70s where they're still trying to do music in that style. But the old Halloween type rock where like everybody they pretend to be Boris Karloff as they're singing or something like that. And they're the big staples, the Blob, Purple People Eater, that kind of stuff. But I love like riboflavin flavored, non-carbonated, polyunsaturated blood, Dracula's Deuce. There's a bunch of different like Monster Hop style songs and stuff like that. Love that kind of thing. And I guess Facebook figured that out at some point because they sent me this ad, and I was like, that is really cool. And the ad is this this guy. I don't know much about him personally. I think he lives in California, and he's been doing this for like 10 years, I think. Isaac Rother and the Phantoms. And I love this kind of music. It's kind of like if you like the Ghastly Ones or Messer Chups. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I've never really heard anybody else say it out loud. But really kind of like macabre rock, that kind of sort of Monster Mash style, rock. Now the thing about a lot of the music in that genre, the Ghastly Ones or Messer Chups, they're more surf rock. That's the style of music, which is great. Love that. Love it. But Isaac Rother and the Phantoms is the one that I've noticed who really is trying to be more just classic like 50s, 60s rock. He's got this whole persona, that he has where he sounds like Wolfman Jack, if you know the old DJ Wolfman Jack. And it's just great. His music, it's on Amazon and whatnot. He's I got the two. He sells a lot of every time he puts a single out, he does vinyl usually, but you can get them on Amazon, stuff like that. I like physical media, and I'm not a vinyl guy. I don't even have a record player, so I like CDs, So I got it. The only two CDs that he's selling on the website. I wish, like, come on, Isaac, put some more of your music on CDs so I can buy more of it, because he just released a great single called "Like a Wolfman," and it's got a B-side on it too. Ghost Party, a cover of Ghost Party. Really great stuff. It's just if you want, look up Isaac Rother and the Phantoms. Like a Wolfman. That's like one of my favorites right now. That's his latest single that he released. It's so fun because he's playing this persona, and he's got he gets the backup singers, and they even do videos which are hilarious. He even did a cover of Britney Spears' "Hit Me Baby One More Time," which I don't care for Britney Spears, whatever. I don't think about that song at all. I've heard it, but his cover of it is like, dang, I can't stop listening to that. It's so awesome. It's really cool. And the thing about him too is he's a really good musician. This kind of rock style music of the 50s, 60s, whatever, it's not a very progressive type of music. I mean, like in terms of chord progressions and whatnot, it's simple compositions and whatnot. And that's the charm of it. We love it for that. But he's actually capable of he's a really good musician. I've seen some videos on YouTube. I don't know if they were before he did the Phantoms or whatnot, but he's great. He goes on tour a lot. He was even in Richmond, Virginia, which isn't too crazy far from me. He was in Hollywood Cemetery, and he released a short called Shredding in the Cemetery or whatever. And he's like doing this like Van Halen level shredding and stuff, kind of stuff that he doesn't really do in his CDs. But he's a solid musician. So yeah, the Isaac Rother and the Phantoms. If you're like me and you like that kind of low straight jackets, that kind of style of music, Southern Culture on the Skids. They even do some really cool Halloween flavor stuff now and then this is a band you definitely want to check out. And like I said, when I do cut this out as its own video, I'll have the link to the website, but they're on YouTube. He's all over YouTube. He's got some really cool videos. Heebie Jeebies is a great song. Yeah, check him out. It's good stuff. I've been poor Sound Engraver has to hear it over and over again because I keep playing them in the car and whatnot, but they're great stuff. So Isaac Rother and the Phantoms. I wish I could talk about music more. Love music, but again, I didn't build the channel on it, so it makes sense that people aren't going to really want to hear me wax poetic about all my favorite bands. My daughter has a playlist of K-pop songs. Yeah, no, I do gotta be a good sweet Halloween playlist. Good. Electric Barbarella heard it. Isn't that an awesome cover? It's like this dark, and he's got a great guitar licks and stuff like that. It's pretty sweet. Samuel Proctor, good to see you there. Said, I have a reoccurring drink every time Prof mentions Van Halen or Alice Cooper. Every stream. Get out of here, Professor. I don't talk much about music, geek. That's true, yeah. I don't get to talk about it a lot. I do talk about it a lot, but it's never like as well received as my geek content because I didn't build a channel on it, So it's makes sense. Imagine if Hobbyist says, are there any covers of songs that you prefer over the originals? Oh, heck yeah. Plenty of them. The one thing that comes to mind is, and you always get in trouble when you say, I like that cover better than the original. Because there's always somebody that's going to come along and grasp their pearls and, but Ain't That a Shame by Chuck Berry. Was it Chuck Berry that did that? Great classic song, but any day I'd rather listen to Cheap Trick's version of it. Love Cheap Trick's version of it. Because, when you grew up listening to rock, and a lot of the musicians that you listened to, the musicians that they listened to were the blues guys, back in the day, or the early rock and stuff like that. And, it makes sense that they would privilege that stuff over what they do, but I grew up listening to them, so I'm going to privilege what they do, Yeah, I do have He's Back by Alice Cooper. I've got He's Back, Teenage Frankenstein, of course, Feed My Frankenstein, The Dead Don't Dance. He's got a really great single that he released. I forget the name of it right now, but Keeping Halloween Alive, I think, is the name of it, which is a fun one too for the list. Hey, there you go. Ghost Planet, Kiss, Blondie, The Cars. Good stuff. Oh, it was Fats Domino, not Chuck Berry. Thank you. I knew I was getting that wrong. Okay, so let me do my last review here, and then we'll keep chatting with the chat until my voice holds out. But I did want to get this in. I showed this to you a little while ago. I backed the campaign for this, but I haven't received my book yet because I did the double package. I wanted the Bela Lugosi starring in Dracula and the Boris Karloff starring in Frankenstein graphic novels. And they've just put the Frankenstein one to press. So I'll get my copies of those from the campaign in one go. But Alec Purdue was kind enough to go ahead and send me the Bela Lugosi Dracula one so I could go ahead and read it for Halloween. So I appreciate that from him. This is, sorry. Eldridge fan said I'm partial to Blue Oyster Cult. Love Blue Oyster Cult. And if you're just somebody who likes Blue Oyster Cult because you've heard Don't Fear the Reaper, or maybe, Godzilla or Burning for You, that's great. Those are great songs. But man, go deeper. Go listen to The Red and the Black, or Astronomy, and Black Blade, and all those great songs. Oh, Blue Oyster Cult's awesome. Go deep. They're good stuff. Okay, so back to this. This is from Legendary Comics, and it's the light here. Carrie Gamble is the one who's really does the likeness of Bela Lugosi in here and whatnot. There's a great intro written by Bela Lugosi's granddaughter talking about how she and her father had always wanted somebody to do a graphic novel that was as true a telling of as true of an adaptation of the Dracula novel as it could be, with the likeness of Bela Lugosi. Because, the movie, great as the original movie is, there are parts of it that are way more an adaptation of the Hamilton Dean play than they are really of the novel. Lots of it, most of it is that. So, and he didn't get to play the character. He only played the character in name twice. Of course, he played vampire-like characters that were basically Dracula a lot of times, So great movies, and don't count those, don't discount those. But giving him, posthumously the chance to actually play the real character from the novel is a cool idea. And they did this, and it's, they start out with the old, when Harker first meets Dracula in Transylvania. Of course, he's older, and he's not until he gorges himself on blood that he goes younger. So they use the older images of Bela Lugosi, before he becomes, the young one. This is a cool read. It's a really great adaptation. Like I said, it's about as close of an adaptation as can be based on the, being a graphic novel. It does make some changes. The changes that it makes are interesting because I think some of the changes it makes are, I've watched so many Dracula iterations lately, or read so many Dracula iterations, that I like to I'm interested in the aspect of adaptation. Like, what do authors, how do they choose what to put in? How do they choose what to change? And this author has a lot of fun with some of the things to change. Like, it's supposed to be an adaptation of the novel, not the Dracula movie, yet they do throw in little Easter eggs. Like, they still call Carfax Abbey, which is something that the movie did. Now, it wasn't in the book. They place Carfax Abbey in Whitby, which is something a lot of movie adaptations do, but that wasn't in the book either. Whitby was the seaside village. Carfax Abbey and Dracula's are the asylum with Renfield and all of that. That was outside of London. So, but really great artwork, as you can see, just wonderful, wonderful iterations of it. The story, in places, it can feel a little rushed, but again, that's just because you're slamming this huge, wonderful novel into a, into it's admittedly a long graphic novel, but it's not, it's not a lot of space to work with. But all of the iconic moments from the novel, it's just so cool to see Bela Lugosi acting them out. It's a little jarring at first because if you think, okay, well, this is Bela Lugosi's Dracula, you're thinking, okay, well, where's Edward Van Sloan's Van Helsing? Where are the other characters? But that they didn't get the likeness rights to them. They're just doing it as Bela Lugosi as Dracula, and then the rest of the characters are supposed to be just thought up or dreamed up, in terms of appearance. And yet you can see some little likenesses that are kind of like picking and choosing from different iterations of Dracula. Like here's the Dracula's brides. You can't tell me he wasn't basing them on the brides from Van Helsing, the Hugh Jackman movie, Stephen Sommers movie with Van Helsing. Because those was such a cool iteration of those brides. And you can't tell me he's not basing them, especially the one in the center there. So it's a lot of fun. If you're a Dracula fan, you will have enormous fun with this. From Legendary Comics, you can still get on the bandwagon. They'll still accept backings now. The campaign's well over, and they're putting it to press, but they still got like a late backer, place for you to buy one. So check out Legendary Comics. It really is. If you're a Dracula fan, it's great. Now, if this is like your first foray into the Dracula story, no, don't go read this first. Go read the novel. But if you're a Dracula fan, this is so good. It's so fun. It's a really good adaptation. It's fun to see that sort of love letter to Bela Lugosi and having him play the part, and it's his son and his granddaughter are, on board with it and everything. So it's all done very respectfully. I like it. It's really good. All right. I agree, Andre Hernandez. The Van Helsing movie is good. I liked it a lot. It I think people were expecting it to be something more than it was. Stephen Sommers loves those old monster movies, but he likes taking them and making sort of big adventure films out of them. So, that's what he did with The Mummy, and it really worked with The Mummy because The Mummy lends itself to that. The Mummy lends itself to the swashbuckling Indiana Jones style with the iconic three, the Trinity, Dracula, Frankenstein, and Wolfman. You had to like invent the character or let the character Van Helsing become the swashbuckling. So it's like a backstory for Van Helsing, and I guess it just wasn't what people were looking for. But I wasn't expecting it to be anything more than that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hugh Jackman is the actor to make screaming look cool. I have not read the Samuel Proctor talking about the 1966 Ballantine adaptation. I have heard good things about it. Is that the one that Marvel do that one? Basically just a novel with 60s style art and Christopher Lee writes the foreword. Yeah, of course he would. I haven't read that one yet. I've heard good things about it. There's so many out there, still parsing my way through them all. Eldritch fan. That center vampire wench. I can save her. I could fix her. I'd be her knight in shining armor. This is how I ruin myself. Bites me every time. That's funny. Oh man. Padre Coserna said, didn't care for the pot shots at Calvinism in the Van Helsing movie. Were there pot shots at Calvinism? I haven't seen that movie since it was out in the theaters. In fact, that's the last time I saw it in the theaters. I do have the DVD of it, and I watched the animated prequel they made, which I thought was really good. But I need to watch it again. Probably might go into November a little bit. My monster movie watching. So pot shots, I guess, like sort of snidey comments. Like I'm not a Calvinist myself, so I wouldn't be offended, but at the same time, you don't like just snarky, about any kind of religious stuff either. So, I'll have to look for that when I watch it again. Creature Commando. Yeah, Studio 96. I do have Creature Commandos. I got a really good deal on the I don't think it's an omnibus, but it's like the volume 1 of it, because I know James Gunn is doing the movies or whatever. But you're saying I dread Creature Commandos. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to James Gunn, him doing anything with it myself, but the idea of it's really cool. And yeah. Oh, okay. Padre says Catholicism, not Calvinism. I thought it was weird that you were saying Calvinism. Did I misread your comment, or was it just a Calvinism? Oh yeah, gotcha. Okay. Just a misunderstanding there. Yeah. And see, I wasn't a Catholic when I saw it either, because I didn't convert to Catholicism until about 2016, 17. So it'll be interesting to watch it with different eyes. Sound Engraver is reading reading Dracula the novel for the first time, and the brides freak her out. she's just got through Harker's ordeal with the brides and trying to escape and so forth. So yeah, it's really fun. I love it when Sound Engraver reads some of my favorite novels or whatever, because I get to sort of relive them, through her experiences or her reactions. I am reading right now, because I know that Dacre Stoker, Bram Stoker's nephew, wrote with another author or whatever. First of all, he did a sequel to Dracula, which I heard mixed things about. I have that, but before I started reading that, he did it's a really weird, it's a prequel to Dracula, which is sort of like a meta backstory of Dracula and Bram Stoker. It's called Dracula. I've started it. It's a really slow start. I finally got to the point where I think it's picking up and finally going somewhere, but it takes forever to get there. Maybe by the time I finish it, though, I'll really like it. I might hate it. I don't know. I'll let you guys know as I continue to read it. But it's interesting. I definitely want to read the sequel he wrote to Dracula, just because it's kind of fun to go see those characters again. But I'm not expecting, my expectations aren't high, because I've heard so many things, this or that about it. But I'll still give it a chance. I'll give it a good chance. So. Yeah, it was the Faramir. What's the name of that actor? He was also was he also no, I get the two mixed up. The Faramir actor was not Professor Lupin in Harry Potter. That was the guy from Dragon's Heart. But yeah, and Kate Beckinsale, which was interesting because this was pretty close to Underworld, so she was doing yet again that sort of gothic vampire movie. Ghost Planet said James Gunn ruined Scooby-Doo. What is James Gunn doing with Scooby-Doo? I didn't know he did anything Scooby-Doo wise, but yeah, I could see that. Leia Plus Size says, have you seen the full trailer for the remake of the Nosferatu movie? Will you see it when it comes out in December? I did see the trailer, and I'm interested. I didn't see anything that was definitely like would keep me away deal breaker wise. See, here's the thing with Nosferatu. I'm not as in love with the classic Nosferatu film as a lot of Dracula fans seem to be. I do understand its importance. Its importance in cinematic history. It was a technological masterpiece, and it's a really important step in cinematic history. But Nosferatu takes the story of Dracula and strips it of a lot of the stuff that I love about Dracula, because Murnau and what's the producer's name, even Max Schreck himself, the actor, they were occultists. This was the time in between World War I and World War II, Germany. A lot of weird things were going on there. And you don't have any of that sort of classic good versus evil in the sense of the novel that I love. But it does add some interesting things. Of course, it's the first iteration where the son kills Dracula. And there is the idea of a pure maiden who's the only one that can really defeat Dracula by offering herself. Sort of, you got that the image of like the the virgin being offered to the dragon to save the people. It's a little bit of that idea. So there's some cool threads to look at. I did enjoy, story wise, I enjoyed the 1979 Nosferatu even more than the old silent film story wise. I'm not, again, I recognize the importance, and I'm not going to poo-poo that original film by any means, because it was very important. But and you should watch it if you're a Dracula fan, if you're kind of studying the iterations of it. So all that to say, this new trailer, it does look like they are picking up the important threads, like the woman, the purity of the young maiden being the only one that can defeat Count Orlok and stuff like that. That looks interesting. I'm expecting the best case scenario is I'll watch it and it could be a really cool development of the cool threads of the Nosferatu story. But that still won't make it one of my favorite Dracula movies or vampire movies in any way, just because the Nosferatu story really just takes Van Helsing and chucks him to the curb. He's a silly, disbelieving or bumbling or whatever, depending on the take or whatnot. I don't know. That's somewhat of an unpopular opinion, but I just what I love about the Dracula novel is the classic good versus evil. I like the God versus the devil, aspect in it. I like the I say it's a Catholic novel, and it very much is, but even if you're not Catholic, it's a very Christian novel, in terms of the themes and just the and Nosferatu just took a lot of that out. Doesn't make it bad, doesn't mean it's not interesting on its own right, but that's my thoughts. Yeah, talking about the Faramir actor, the monk in the Van Helsing does a very good job. Molokai about Saint Damien. I think my favorite moment, and again, just working from memory, seeing it in the theater, was at the end. They're supposed to kill the monsters, and Frankenstein's monster is about to escape, and he's like, "But you're not supposed to live." And Frankenstein's monster's like, "But I want to live." And the monk's like, "Okay." It was like a classic Stephen Sommers moment. No, I have never seen Nosferatu. That sounds fun. Was that a like an old 30s style comic? I do like it whenever comics or whenever cartoons do iterations of classic horror works. Like anytime Looney Tunes ever did a Jekyll and Hyde story is always fun. Whether it was Bugs Bunny in the Jekyll and Hyde or Tweety Bird as the Jekyll and Hyde. I love that kind of stuff. That's always fun. Going back, David Wyndham was his name. Okay, thank you, Sound Engraver. Oh, he wrote the live action. I did know that at some point. Once upon a time in my life, I knew that James Gunn wrote the live action Scooby-Doo movies, but I guess it just sort of left my brain because it didn't compute when you guys said James Gunn. Now, I never saw the second one. I liked the first one well enough because I wasn't expecting it to be like true to the cartoon in any way. And I think the movies are important because they kept the franchise alive, so we got so many really good animated films of Scooby-Doo that came after that. If you're looking for a great animated Scooby-Doo, check out the one Paul Dini wrote. I forget the name of it right now, but that was really good. They go to help Velma's younger sister, who has a crush on Shaggy. It's really funny. It was good. Oh, I didn't know about the stuff he wanted to put in there. Ghost Planet Maxine said he wanted to make them drug dealers. Like the whole, Shaggy on pot thing kind of stuff. Yeah, it doesn't shock me. James Gunn is somebody who is very talented. You can't deny that he's a talented storyteller, but he's somebody who needs to have strong parameters placed around him. And Hollywood's not in a position that it places parameters around anybody right now. You think that might be a weird thing to say, but think about it, especially when it comes to superhero movies, especially when it comes to Warner Brothers and superhero movies. They just like, oh, you did a good X-Men movie, you'll make a great Superman movie. You did a Watchmen movie, you should make a Superman movie, So, they just tend to take somebody and throw all their chips on them and give them free reign. So, yeah, I don't know. Mm. Andre Hernandez, I'm grateful for the Hex Girls. Yeah, yeah. I remember. I remember being a young impressionable young man watching the Hex Girls. It's funny that there's a great scene. I think there's a couple things because the Hex Girls show up in a couple of different. They're the rock band, you know. They show up in a couple of different movies, but there are always those great scenes where like Daphne, you know, sees Fred looking at them a little too, you know, enthusiastically. That's funny. All right, guys. My voice is no, I'm over my hour line anyway. I'll still wrap it up with a few things here. But yeah, it's interesting. And I apologize, I'm probably pronouncing your last name wrong. Cosierno? I hope that's the right you pronouncing your last name. What do you think of the Francis Ford Coppola invention of Dracula striking against the Eucharist in his movie, and thus he is cursed to drink human blood rather than the divine Eucharist? You said, I'm depressed at 1. Did you finish your comment? Or was that just a... It's a cool idea. The Francis Ford Coppola movie, it's so weird that they called that Bram Stoker's Dracula. Because it's so not. Even when it came out, it wasn't the most loyal iteration to the book. And he actually took the name from the Jack Palance, the Dan Curtis Dracula, and they changed the name of that because that was called Bram Stoker's Dracula back in the day. But I like the Francis Ford Coppola movie for a lot of really interesting ideas. Of course, it's not a perfect film, and of course, it's got its problems, definitely. But it's got some interesting ideas. Visual-wise, it's stunning. Now, I have a weird experience with the Francis Ford Coppola film because I grew up in rural area here. None of my family went to college. None of them were big readers or anything like that. I don't know what happened to me growing up and just voraciously reading and wanting to know as much as I could about literature and so forth. So I didn't have a lot of guidance or a lot of people to say, oh, no, that's the right one and that's the wrong one, this, and that. So when did Bram Stoker's Dracula, when did Coppola's film come out? 92? Was it 92 or 80? It was right around the early 90s there. So I'd be like 11 or so. And I got the novel. I didn't know about novelizations at the time. I didn't know there was such a thing. I didn't know they took... to me, it would have been absurd. Like, wait, but there's already a Dracula novel. Why do you need to make a novel out of the screenplay for the movie that was based on the novel? Just read the novel. So I got the novelization of the movie, thinking it was actually Dracula the novel, and that's the first thing I read of Dracula ever. And it was well written, as far as novelization goes. But so for me, a lot of the things in Francis Ford Coppola's was my first introduction to Dracula. Now, of course, eventually I figured that out and went back and read the original, and it's one of my top 5 favorite novels now. Love it and all of that. But so I do have a different kind of experience of the story and of some of the differences that they made here and there with it. Samuel Proctor, are you talking about Cinemassacre's video? They do the guy, the angry video game nerd, their channel Cinemassacre. I think he did a good video talking about which movies were the most faithful or whatever. He's a big Dracula fan, obviously. Andre Hernandez for $5. Thank you so much. Said, thoughts on the Planet Hulk story. Do you think it makes the Avengers look like jerks to send Hulk to space? Or do you think they made the right decision? Now, see, again, I didn't grow up with Marvel, and I don't know a lot of Marvel. I know the gist of it. I know that the Illuminati get together and decide to send Hulk, or is it the Avengers that decide to do it? I thought it was the Illuminati in the comics. Maybe I've got that wrong, though. But yeah, I think that's sort of a jerk move to send Hulk to space. But I'm not prepared to say that's not in keeping with the Marvel comic universe, because Marvel is grittier. It is, so I can't really speak with any intelligence or any authority on that, unfortunately. It's kind of one of those stories where it's fascinating, the idea of Hulk on a different planet and Planet Hulk, and all of that stuff. And I know the animated film of it. I need to watch that animated film. But yeah, I don't really like the idea of the Avengers booting Hulk. That's not really something I'm into. All right, so it was the Illuminati. Butcher Barbarella. Excuse me, guys. All right, guys. I think I'm going to have to wrap it up here. Don't want to overdo it, kill my voice, make my throat all itchy tonight and scratchy. So I think I'll wrap it up. I'm over my hour usual stream time anyway. But it's been a great stream. I appreciate you guys hanging out and chatting. And hopefully you were interested in, or at least, found it somewhat interesting, some of the things I reviewed. I'll cut those out as individual reviews. But yeah, those graphic novel campaigns are, like, you can get on those now. Like I said, Legendary Comics for the Bela Lugosi. They're also doing a Boris Karloff starring in Frankenstein, so it's the same kind of deal. An adaptation of the novel Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but starring Boris Karloff as the monster. That's going to press right now, but you can still get in on both of those. And then and that's Legendary Comics. And then Orlok Press, spelt like Count Orlok, from Nosferatu, is the one where Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones are doing their Dracula novels. So check those out if you're interested. Good stuff. And of course, Isaac Rother and the Phantoms. Just shut up and go listen to it. It's good stuff. It really, if you at least check out his cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time, if you're not going to do like a Wolfman, which is awesome. I just love that kind of stuff. That's the Halloween that I like. I'm not a blood, guts, and gore. I like the Halloween that's spooky, campy, like Monster Mash style Halloween, and the music I just love. I love for that. It's good stuff. All right. Thank you for hanging out. Always fun to chat and talk about this stuff. I'll be back next week, which will be the last stream before our Triduum of All Hallows Eve, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day. So we'll do something special for that. And yeah, hope you guys have a great week. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue stories you love.